Welcome to the VBA Code Alone series, where we simplify tasks in Excel using VBA. Today we are tackling a classic problem. You have a file with sheets for different regions, and you need to save each selected sheet as a separate file. Sounds tedious, right? Don't worry, VBA is here to save the day. Let's jump into a step-by-step solution. We'll write a simple VBA routine to create a folder for saving the files, loop through selected sheets in your workbook, and save each sheet into its own file. Go to the Developer tab or activate it using Customize the ribbon option and open the Visual Basic window. Here we need to create a new module for our code. Just right-click the project pane and choose Insert Module. You can name it as you like. And now we are ready to code. Let's create the main routine. Save selected sheets as workbooks. On error, go to Error Handler. We add this line at the top to ensure that if any part of our code runs into an error, Visual Basic Advanced doesn't just crash. Instead, it will jump to the Error Handler section at the bottom and show you a helpful error message. Here we define two variables: selected sheets, that will hold the sheets you've selected in the workbook, and save path. This will hold the path to the folder where we will save the individual files. This line calls the create save folder function, which we'll look at in detail in a moment. It will create a folder to store all the saved sheets, ensuring we have a dedicated space for these new files. Step 2. Getting selected sheets. This line grabs sheets you've selected in your workbook. Active window selected sheets refers to the sheets you've highlighted by holding Ctrl or Shift and clicking the tabs. These sheets will then be processed by the next part of our code. Step number 3. Saving each worksheet as a separate file. Here we pass the selected sheets and the save folder path to the next subroutine, which we'll explore in detail next. This part will loop through each sheet and save them individually. And after everything is done, this message box lets you know the process is complete. So let's create a new create save folder function. In this function, we create a folder to store all the exported sheets, and this ensures you don't have a massive workspace with files scattered everywhere. Here, this workbook path gives us the path of the workbook where the macro is being run. Base name is the string we pass to the function, in this case exported sheets. Now gets you the current date and time, and reformats it into a readable string. This makes the folder name unique each time you run the script. It prevents overwriting files if you run the code multiple times. We use the dir function to check if the folder already exists. If it doesn't, we create it with mkdir. The folder path is returned to the main subroutine, where it's stored in the save path variable. The next subroutine does the actual work of saving each selected sheet as a new workbook. By turning off screen updating and disabling event handling, we speed up the process. Normally, Excel updates the screen every time something changes, but with this turned off, the process will be much faster without showing each intermediate step. Just remember to turn it back on the end of the routine. This starts a loop that goes through each sheet in the Sheets to Save collection, which we passed from the main subroutine. Now we create a new empty workbook to copy the content of the selected sheet into. This line copies everything in the selected sheet's used range, the area containing data, and pastes it into the new workbook. This line gives the newly created sheet in the new workbook the same name as the original. This ensures your files are named consistently. And this line sets the complete file path, including the folder path and the sheet name, for the new workbook. Here we save the new workbook using the Save As method. The Excel Open XML workbook format ensures we save it as an XLSX file. After saving, we immediately close the workbook as we are done with it. Finally, we turn the screen updating and events back on, so Excel can go back to its normal state. And now let's try it out. Select multiple sheets using Ctrl or Shift button and run the macro. This is where the magic happens. We've gone through each line of code and explored how it helps solve the problem of saving selected sheets as separate files. With just a little VBA magic, you can automate what would otherwise be a tedious manual process. If you want to try something different with this code, like saving files in a different format or adding more customizations, now you have a solid foundation to tweak and experiment. Thank you for following along. If you have any questions or need more clarification, feel free to drop them in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more VBA tips and tricks. Happy coding! See ya!